Do you remember your last racial experience?
Um, a while back, before this is like a decade ago. Yeah,
So it
man,
can't
like
be that
fashion
racist, can it?
lounge. Oh,
Yeah,
it
yeah,
was pretty racist.
yeah, yeah.
I went to, but this is something I remember like clearly, and it was clear racism. I may have experienced it in the last decade, of course, but like I haven't taken offense to it it's if it's happened.
Yeah.
But we were went to a club. I think I was going to meet you
Yeah,
guys or
you
meet a
you were
bunch of
with
dudes.
one other female.
Yeah, we were. Yeah,
Yeah,
you
yeah, I
remember?
remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, and the guy didn't let me in because I looked like I looked like an islander, and he specifically said, like you look, like he specifically commented on how I look. Mind you, I was wearing a blazer,
I saw that. Yeah, yeah.
and he just kind of stereotyped me. He already told me how I would act or how I was acting when I was like sober and I was going to meet all of yous to potentially become as drunk as he says I was. And yeah, just took a look at me up and down, and like he didn't let me in because of how I looked. And he specifically said like your kind always acts like that.
Did he actually say you're kind?
Your kind.
Yeah,
I
bro.
didn't know what that meant. I didn't know what that meant, but you know what else? I just triggered another memory of when someone said you're kind, is when I had a run in with the police,
Yeah, yeah.
and they were looking for a suspect that had a red jumper on. I had a checkered red jacket on, and again, the policeman said you're kind.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like we are looking for someone of your kind. And I'm thinking, what is my kind?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So, racism is there, but I think Australia is a lot more quiet, oblivious to it. Like that's
Yeah.
more of like a turn away if it happens.
Yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah.
it's something they just accept.
Like the she'll be alright type of
yeah,
attitude.
100%. Like why are you being serious for? You know what I mean? Like why
Yeah.
is this so serious?
Because I'm pretty sure, like, I went to Coles yesterday in the morning, did a workout or whatever. I went to Coles to buy a few things, and I put my items through the self-check scanner, purchased everything, and as I was walking out, the lady was just looking at me, and I smiled at her, just being nice, and she's like, "Did you check out on those items, sir?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I was the first one in here to do that." And I just walked out, and I'm like, "What the hell?" And then she kept looking back at me. Then I'm just thinking, like, if you did your job properly, you would have
You would've
seen me
seen it,
doing
yeah,
that. Like,
yeah.
do you ask everyone the same question? You know what I mean? Like, what made you so cautious about me
adamant.
purchasing my items? Now, you know what I mean? Like, so that could have just been her. Maybe if that was someone else, she would have asked that same person that anyway.
100%.
It's hard to say what's racism or what's not, but sometimes it just feels like that. You know what I mean? Because based on the facts of the situation,
No, 100%.
it just comes across as that. And even with the clubbing situation, whether it's too many guys or not, sometimes at certain clubs they do it all the time.
Yeah, they do,
I
they do.
haven't had that experience lately because haven't been out as much. But certain clubs they just knock you back because
100%.
they just want to.
But even now, like sometimes, as in my work life, I wear a suit every day. If
Yeah,
I
it's
was to
different.
wear a suit in a shop, I wouldn't get looked at. I wouldn't
Yeah.
get my bags checked.
Yeah,
like
for sure.
I'd get a high and buy.
Yeah,
But on my regular days, like when I'm not in a suit, I wear my baggy, my baggy jumper, my hoodie, like I'm a normal swaggy dude. But like when I go in with that type of attire,
yeah.
I do get looks.
Yeah, yeah.
I
But that's
do-
the thing, like sorry to cut you off, but
No,
do you
it's
think sometimes the looks are them just curious of you or them just like, you know what I mean? Because sometimes it's hard to differentiate what is actually,
But that's what I mean. That's what I mean by oblivious. Like people
Yeah.
are oblivious to actually how they're acting towards you just because of how you look. Like
Yeah.
I have some clients that see me outside of work that are surprised to see me because of how I look.
Yeah.
I've copped many times from clients. Oh, you look different
yeah,
just because I'm not in a suit.
yeah.
I still have the same haircut, the same face, but just because I'm in a different attire.
What, I think you're going to wear a suit to bed
I
and
don't know. I don't know.
shower with it on. I know what you mean.
But
like,
so oblivious. They're oblivious to how they're thinking and stuff. So I guess what is not education, or do they just
yeah.
I don't know, like do they turn a blind eye?
Well, you seen in the States, they did the Dole test. I think this was done like 20 plus years ago.
Yeah.
And it was done to kids that were like anywhere from the ages of, I think, 5 to like 12. And they had like a bunch of like children that were different shades. And they asked them, so they asked these kids, black, white, whatever, which child is the ugliest? Which child is the most handsome? Which child is innocent? Which child is guilty? Like certain questions. And the person conducting the test pointed to a booklet with different hues of babies. And they always pointed to the darkest as the guiltiest and the lightest as the most beautiful. And so it makes you think, like, where is this programming coming from? Obviously, it comes from the media, the standard of beauty that exists, and whatever other platforms, the way your parents raise you, things they say. So, like, even just going off that, I remember being at my mate's house when I was in year 6, Irish guy, Irish family, and Serena Williams was playing, and then I heard the dad say, "Oh, you black bitch," and I was there like, what the fuck? You know what I mean? So I've had little experiences like that growing up. You know, just so it's just interesting how people have a certain perception and what they say behind closed doors. Maybe he thought it was okay to say that because I was like year 4 or 5, but I didn't forget that. I'm like, okay.
100%.
You know what I mean? So,
But even if, but like, it goes, if you want, like on the topic of racism, I mean, Asians cop it all the time.
yeah.
Like, you know, the fact, like, I look partly Asian, and like, you know, the Asian comments are slurred all the time. Like, that definitely counts as racism. But again, we turn a blind eye to it.
What do you mean? Like if someone thinks you're Asian?
Yeah, like, so, you know, they make like comments about looking
like they
Asian.
stereotype you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You know? Would you classify stereotyping someone as a form of racism?
Well, there's different definitions of racism because a lot of what we define racism is as like discrimination. But then there's certain different definitions where they define racism as the allocation of assets and resources amongst specific groups. Like if you go to the States, for example, and, you know, obviously post-slavery Europeans, the white Americans had an advantage because of, you know, the certain economics that existed.
Yeah.
So people would classify that as racism because, for example, the Jews stuck together. Certain communities will stick together and they allocate their resources amongst themselves. And so certain definitions describe that as racism because it's all about building up your race, quote unquote race.
They kind of put you in boxes, like where you belong.
Yeah. So like, that's how I describe racism for myself. But typically speaking, I'll just say racism in terms of discrimination, like what we just explained of our personal experiences. But racism is obviously bigger than that. It's all about, just people trying to build up their communities and not... But then even with that, if you're trying to build up your own community and not worrying about other people, is that racism? Or is that just pro whatever you are?
Wouldn't you think it's if they try and tear them down? Like for example, like at my high school at Reservoir High, like we had, you know, at lunches we had the green seats. The green seats were, you know, situated all in the one area, but everyone had their own cliques, but the cliques were different races. You had the Asians on one side, you had the Somalians on one side, you had the Fobs on one side, you had the Wogs on the other. Like each table consisted of that same ethnicity. You know, and like, you know, obviously, like, you know, we're kids and stuff, and we throw around those slurs. I mean, we like bag each other, tease each other and stuff.
Yeah.
I guess that's also contributes to the, you know, to how we think and how we're programmed, like as we get older, to look at other races. You know what I mean? Like as kids, we think it's funny. And then as we get older, we take offense to it.
Yeah, but like, that's true. As kids though, where did that thinking come from? Are you just sitting next to people because they look like you and you feel comfortable with that? Because like...
Yeah, but do we change it when we get older? Like where our generation is the older generation now.
Yeah.
Or we're becoming the older generation now.
Yeah.
Like, are we changing that?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, people are just comfortable. Like, for example...
We're comfortable. That's right. People are just comfortable.
Yeah, but like, catching a train, for example, I've had many times where I'll be sitting down and like people come on and my seat is the last to be filled up because whether they just feel comfortable sitting there because it's a better view or the seats are more furnished, I don't know. But you can guess it's because they're more comfortable sitting next to that person that maybe looks like them, which it is what it is. But I think that's what I'm trying to say. Is that because that person looks like them, or is it because they're more uncomfortable sitting next to someone that doesn't look like them? Like, where does it come from?
It's generational. It's definitely
Yeah.
passed down.
Yeah.
But the thing is, every generation contributes to it. Like, you know, we can talk about where it started. We can talk about the roots, to getting to the roots of it and how it became what it is in our society.
Yeah.
But like every generation, including our own, contributes to it, and like the next and the next, like it becomes a form of bullying.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. I think, you know, as the cultures become more like mixed within the Western countries, for example, I mean, it's less prevalent because, you know, you're more accustomed to certain people. You realize these people aren't as exotic as you thought. You know what I mean? Sometimes people that are of color, they forget they're of color until someone mentions that, you know, oh, you're black, or can I touch your hair, or in a girl situation, or can you show me how to twerk? You know, things like that. Until people start doing things like that,
The stereotype, though?
yeah. That's when you start to realize, oh shit, I do look different to you. Man, I mean, it is what it is. It's just the facts of reality. But
I think everyone just has to take accountability.
yeah.
But see, that just brings on another topic,
Yeah.
because I say that people need to take accountability of what they're saying, how they say it, when they say it. Yeah, but is that another form of telling someone how they should be talking? Is that free speech? Are they allowed? Like, should they be allowed to say what they want to say when they want to say it?
Yeah, people can say
how
what
they want to say it.
People can say whatever they want to say, but then there's also consequences to what you say, and you can't control how someone else is going to react to it. Even though there's certain laws in place to protect you, and there's consequences of you doing something illegal, like physical harm, etc. But based on the human nature, how humans may react when they feel under attack or under pressure or whatever, depending how bad it is, because, you know, they say just walk away. Half the time, most instances, you can just walk away. But not everybody has that mentality. And if you say something to someone, then they can react how they want if they see it fit. You know what I mean? So to answer your question, it just depends on how that person wants to react to it.
It's so complicated, but
Yeah.
it's not as easy as saying you're racist. There's so many variables to that.
Yeah.
Why? Like, why, where, how?
Well, I think obviously it's done on purpose. Like, if you go back in a long time ago, there's something called, I can't even remember what it was called, but there was a certain rebellion in the Americas where, so basically I think the poor whites, the Native Americans and stuff like that, were like indentured servants. They were working side by side, but because they were so, they were able to communicate together and kind of see the bullshit that was going on by the elites.
Yeah.
The story is told that that's when they started exporting people from other parts of the world, like Africa, to come to the Americas, so they could not understand the language that's being spoken, and that further emphasize racism from that point on. I forgot why I was even saying that, but yeah, that was an example.
Fact. I didn't know that.
I think it was called something rebellion. I forgot what it was called, but even the whole slavery thing, like Africans being exported to the Americas, that's a whole different topic, which can get quite, you know, deep. But
controversial.
Yeah, just about the indigenous Americans and who they originally are and how many Africans were brought over. You know what I mean? But yeah, it's a big conversation. But
I was actually having a conversation with my counterpart. No, because like I was saying, you know, if the whites didn't invade all these countries, if we didn't become westernized, like, you know, what we see now when we, like, you know, there are stories now and everyone's going back and learning about everyone's, you know, culture, ethnicity, the real stories behind the indigenous of all countries. You know, they also had their way of, like, they had their way of life, but they also had their hierarchy. You know, if you weren't a royal in the village and you were just a normal peasant or a normal person, you would also be shunned and controlled and tormented and beat if you didn't do the right thing. Or,
well, yeah, it depends on what culture, because every culture was different. You know what I mean?
No, but every culture's had that.
Yeah, to a certain degree, but again, it depends on what culture, because not all cultures are the same.
Now, of course
if
not.
you go to
not,
like,
but I'm still talking about hierarchy,
yeah, of course,
like the ability to be
like kings
equal.
and queens. Not everyone's a king and a queen.
Yeah. Like
No, I'm adding to your point.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
yeah, of course, it's a hierarchy. Yeah. But I think, you know how they used to say, like with the Aztecs, they used to play sport for the gods, and I think the team that won, correct me if I'm wrong, I can't remember, but the team that won would sacrifice themselves to the gods,
to the gods.
or maybe the team that lost, but I'm pretty sure it was a team that won. So like, obviously, you know, that sounds crazy, but is that like a westernized story to make these people seem more barbaric,
Yeah,
or did that
right,
actually
right,
happen? I don't
yeah,
actually know. But yeah, even reading the book called Black Emu about the indigenous culture here, they were saying that they're certain, or there's evidence to believe that the indigenous have been here longer than what, you know, the
what they
modern
made
day
out to be.
Australians claim that they were,
They were.
which is, I definitely believe that, because everywhere you go around the world, there's an indigenous culture.
Yeah, that's
you go
right.
to Australia, obviously, you go to the Philippines, the Negritos, which are dark-skinned
the dark-skinned
people.
Yeah.
You go to India, the southern part of India, these people look nearly Ethiopian.
Yeah,
Then
right.
obviously Africa, and then the Americas. So you're telling me that all these Africans got exported to America,
Yeah.
but every other country has
Didn't.
indigenous people.
Yeah, right.
So that, and even beyond that, you look at the indigenous, like the statues that exist over there in the Americas. It's obvious that there was a certain civilization that was here that was of color. And even like the ancient artifacts, like the pyramids, the biggest pyramid in the world is in the Americas, not in Egypt.
But isn't that because wasn't the blacks chosen to be in that scenario because, like, naturally they're just our strongest, like just the strongest of our species. Like naturally they're big.
Yeah, in their most like organic form.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Like even like the mechanism to protect themselves from the sun.
That's right.
Having that the melanin, obviously that's a crucial part, because every
like their physicality was like second to none. Like
yeah, of course. Obviously now in the modern day, just as people, we've become more lazy, more weak. We sit down all the time.
No.
We eat these freaking processed foods, GMOs, pesticides, fluoride in the water, whatever it is. You know, you can argue whether fluoride is good or bad.
Bro, you got to pay for everything that'll make you feel better.
Yeah, for sure.
Like recently, I actually just got. I forgot to tell you that me and Ash just got a water filter system.
Nice.
That could be, and we had a guy come over and he educated us in like the water that we currently have in Melbourne.
Yeah.
You know, telling us about all the chemicals and the hard metals they're putting in, right?
For sure,
and as time goes on, they're putting more of it into the waters that makes us have reactions and things. Like, you know, just having a shower every day is not good for you because
your skin is the biggest organism.
That's right.
You
That's
absorb
right.
it all, yeah.
And you know, he was saying that it causes it is a big factor in aging quicker, making the aging process quicker. You know, having skin what do you call it, skin irritations,
yeah.
like all these things. And like I actually started getting eczema and stuff. And I don't know if I'm being para or whatever. And I swear on this podcast that ever since I've got the water filter, my eczema has gone.
Yeah, I believe it for sure.
Like, and I was
For
like,
sure.
and, you know, like Ash was saying, you know, like of course it is because of that, and I'm trying to, like, I agree too, but it's just so unreal that could actually be a thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's just normal water that you have in your house that you're meant to your
Because I know what you mean. Because you have like everyone has access to it.
Yeah.
You're thinking like, how bad could it be?
That's right.
Yeah.
But like there is a thing, and like he came in, did this test and everything. He got the tap water. He put a like a positive and negative what do you call
satchel
it?
thing.
Yeah, in the water to generate, like, to bring out and highlight what's in the water.
Yeah.
And the thing turned brown. I
Right.
kid you not, it turned brown.
Yeah, of course.
And I was like,
But
what
I've been,
is
like,
this?
obviously here and there I might have tap water, but I've been buying filtered water for like a couple of years now.
It's unreal.
I've been meaning to buy like a reverse osmosis filter. Like it's different to what you got, because it literally filters everything out, and then you got to add
showers, the sinks.
No, but like the filter I'm talking about, you keep it in your kitchen, and like it has a section of it where it's the tap water you put in, and then it filters it, and then you see what the filtered water looks like. It looks different.
Yeah, it's clear.
It's transparent. Like obviously
100%.
water's transparent, but it's much more clearer. But then you got to add your own minerals into it because it has nothing. Like
100%.
literally everything stripped from it.
Ours has got alkaline. It's
But
alkaline
yours,
water.
so yours is a pH
Alkaline
of like
minerals.
7 or 8 or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think tap water is a pH level of like 5,
Yeah.
which is, I think pH stands for like potential hydrogen. The more hydrogen you have, the healthier. Obviously, if it's like at a 10 or 11, that's too much. 11, 12. I think bleach is like
Too much.
14 or something. So obviously that is bad.
That's chemically bad.
And I think your blood is at a pH level of like 7.5, something like that. So the more things you eat around that pH level, is healthier for you. You know what I mean?
But it's just crazy. Like you got to actually research these things, install these things, and pay for it just to
Yeah.
have clean water.
For sure.
Like that just.
Well, that's the
fucking blew
thing,
my
man. This
mind.
goes into a deeper topic because,
Yeah.
like, if everybody was fully healthy, fully functional, fully educated on certain issues, then people would be, you know, more independent and not reliant on certain, let's just say, businesses or certain procedures that exist in society. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but wouldn't you think that would evolve us as human beings a lot faster? You know what I mean? Like that would allow us all to exceed.
What do you mean?
Like right now, we have a lot of like we was talking about before with processed foods and the water and things. We have all these elements that are in our everyday life.
Yeah.
It's like it's designed or put there to keep us from excelling.
That's my point. Yeah,
You
yeah,
know
of
what I mean?
course. Like, even
So
like,
if we did,
I'm not saying school is bad, but there's certain things that would be more, I think, productive to learn about in school, like how to do your taxes, maybe how to start your own business, like proper nutrition, even gardening, honestly, like how to like have your be self-efficient. Like, I don't know the exact specific subjects that should exist, but I guess to me, these things are kind of important.
I think they are real. I think there are high elite schools that teach that stuff.
Probably, yeah, probably.
You know what I mean? I was watching. Oh, you know, I was watching the other day, Richie Rich.
Yeah, yeah.
So in Richie Rich, I didn't realize it when I watched it back in the day, like when I was a kid. But I watched it now with my kids. Like they in Richie Rich, he goes to a school that teaches business, that teaches them stock markets, that teaches them, you know, a financial perspective of the world and things like that. As kids, like young as kids, and you actually get to see. Like you actually get to see the normal kids, the normal street kids, go into his world and see the difference between it, the
Yeah,
hierarchy,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So I think even in our like society, there's an elite, I don't know, version of the human beings that have access to all of this, you know.
Probably.
And with us in the middle class and below, like we have to work to get there,
Yeah.
or even have to pay to get there.
You're educated enough to be a good
That's right, that's
employee,
right.
but not a good employer. You know what I mean? You need to keep the wheel turning of society.
You're at birth. You're not programmed, or you become programmed, but you're forced to play your role
Yeah, yeah,
in the society.
for sure.
You know, whatever that may be, or whatever your parents are, like you're forced to be in that role and play that part.
For sure. Yeah, yeah.
That's what's fucked. Like in the conversation that everyone always has, like, you know, all the time, they're talking about the school's outdated and we should change this and change that and change that. I think in certain parts of the world with certain, you know, the hierarchy of people, there are those things in place for that level of human.
Yeah,
you know
yeah,
what I mean?
yeah.
Like it's there. You're not meant to be one of those people. Or you're not allowed to be one of those people.
Yeah.
They put more obstacles in your way to stop you.
Well, I think, yeah, the more like wealth an individual has, the more things they can get away with. You know what I mean? Like, especially in the times that we're in now, in the whole pandemic and whatever. Obviously, people that have a certain level of wealth have certain accesses that all
Others
people
don't.
can't get away with. You know what I mean? Like, fines and stuff like that exist to kind of keep the poor or middle class in check. When you're rich and wealthy,
You don't worry about it.
yeah, it's not. It doesn't really apply to you.
100%.
So
And they still can get out of it.
yeah,
It's
exactly.
like it's so much easier for them to keep their money.
Yeah, for sure.
Easier for us to lose it.
Yeah. So, yeah, man, it's crazy. Like, yeah, like, that's why I try and buy organic as much as I can. But even then, it's like, is this really organic? Like,
upkeep.
like what is the soil? Is the soil, because obviously most of your nutrients come from the soil. Is the soil that they're growing the organic on, has that been tampered with? Have they used that for conventional? Conventional meaning they've used pesticides and
Yeah.
these certain chemicals on there, because obviously when you spray pesticides, it can extract the minerals from the soil. So it's just like you don't really know what you're getting. unless you do your own testing, which I don't know how to test organic from conventional. But you know what I mean? Yeah.
So knowledge is power. I was like, 'cause like, if you didn't know these things and no one tells you, you
Yeah.
can go through life, your entire life, and just, just have what's been given to you,
Yeah.
rather than going out and getting what you need to get. And I guess that relates back to what we're talking about with, like the kids in schools and stuff, just doing the same thing all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
Just
crazy.
Put there. Just, it's fucked.
That's funny, man.
But it opens up a whole can of worms, man. Like once you get talking on like things like this and our society and stuff, I mean, it's like, can you really change it? You get 100 odd years. If you're lucky, you get 100 years. What are you gonna do in those 100 years?
Yeah. Well, I think the goal, ideally is to build enough wealth, generational wealth, so your kids don't have to struggle. But at the same time, instilling certain characteristics that don't make them too weak. Because obviously, the more accesses you have, the more comfortable you get, the less struggle you go through. So I think it's about keeping a healthy balance, but obviously creating that generational wealth. So you're not stuck in the poorer class or whatever that may be. Because obviously, in here we talk about poor, but you go to like Ghana or Fiji in the lower parts, and people are actually really struggling.
The whole definition of poor is redefined.
Yeah, 100%. Because when I went to Ghana and I seen like how some people are living, man, like you go there and you see it and you're like, damn, man, like all the things I'm complaining about is nothing.
100%.
But then you come back here, you go through your own whatever,
luxuries,
and then you forget about it. You know what I mean? But you just got to remind yourself consciously that exists. So it's a good experience just to humble yourself.
100%.
Yeah.
All the time.